So a Blue Ribbon Committee was set up at the request of City Council to take a look at what sort of an acceptable funding strategy could be presented to the residents to provide for park funding now, keep the parks open now, and keep them open forever. So the Blue Ribbon Committee was established with these members, Tim Underdown, George Taylor, Henry Silvestri, Mike Sheehan, Juan Correa, Irene Gallegos, Susan Lane, Tracy Lobos, Adam Wilson, John Lloyd, and our high schooler, McKenna Olson. 10 meetings, over 2 to 3 hours per meeting. They must have listened to me speak for at least 15 hours on educating them on government finance and things you can and cannot do with government money. I need to be transparent and accountable with government funding. So from that, we started doing research within the committee, and we looked at our surrounding successful communities. We looked at Temecula. What does Temecula do? Temecula had a property tax assessment, and basically it's $75 per parcel. And they charge all the parcels within their city. They have it set up to charge all the parcels within the city. Multifamily, industrial, undeveloped, everybody pays. And if you've been down to their part of towns, they have a pretty nice park system set up. We looked at our neighbor to the south, City of Marietta. They too have a community services district in which they charge property owners within the district, and those assessments are used to provide recreation, park development. They also include street lighting and slope maintenance for their assessment, and that's about a $47 a year charge for that. We looked at those two, at some other options. We had some parameters and guidelines that we were trying to follow. What will the Blue Ribbon Committee members were listening to the constituents? What would they accept? What would they not accept? And basically came up with a couple parameters that are within your report, and John Lloyd will expand upon that later in his recommendation. But basically, came down to that we need to provide a funding source for park maintenance, landscape, and operations. We did not include operations costs, recreation services. That was not included in the original assessment. So this recommendation adds that benefit of that element of operations to the program. Future park expansion, particularly on the east side of town. We don't have any parks east of the I-15 freeway. We have space that's dedicated or identified to be parkland, but there's no funding source to do that. So we need to come up with a funding source, a stream that the banks will agree upon to be dedicated to pay for that for those parks. Go ahead. Some of the criteria we looked at. The previous assessment required roughly 51% vote to pass, but it had a lot of restrictions on it. We looked for a higher level of 66.7% of the registered voters who vote will be required to pass this community facilities district formation. But it's a little more lenient in what we can do with providing landscape, maintenance, operations, and funding for a park acquisition and construction. So the recommendation was, the thoughts were, we could not exceed the dollar amount that we were previously paying, and that was $28 for the maintenance portion. And we could not exceed the total $45 that was slated to be paid on the previous assessment. We do not want to exceed that either. So we backed into basically what can $17, 45 minus 28, what can $17 provide for park construction? Well, the only way that works is if you get a loan, or what they call in government terms, sell lots. In order to do that, you have to dedicate a stream of repayment, how you're going to pay that back. So we had to segregate, identify separately the $28 for maintenance, pay for the park maintenance and operations, and $17, which would be dedicated to make the payment. Similar to the mortgage on your house. You have to identify how much money in your budget can you afford to make a house payment? And that's what you've done here. The total between the two of those items known as tax A for maintenance, tax B for construction, is $45. That would be the maximum base that we would pay on this tax. With that concept, funds also that everybody should pay. Everybody benefits from parks in their community, whether it be through property values, whether it be through reduced crime. Your general fund benefits by you having a park system. If you don't have a park system and park programs, crime rate's going to go up, police costs are going to go up. Your house value, your commercial and retail businesses. You have a soccer tournament in town. They run over to the pizza parlor after the game, and everybody has pizza and celebrates the game that had just been played. And pizza owner does pretty good business because of recreation and parks in the town. So there's a benefit to the folks, the community in total. We also looked at what about the people that are on fixed incomes? What can we do about that? And that's where we came up with the idea of exempting senior citizens who are on fixed incomes. By fixed incomes, we were talking about Social Security. What age do you meet that criteria? 62 years of age. So we said, well, let's put an exemption in there for senior citizens who are owners and occupy properties in town and are 62 years of age or greater. So we put that condition in there.